Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here. It is Monday, the 21st day of March 2022. Welcome to spring. It is now officially spring on all fronts. And this, of course, is the off-season edition of the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion. Glad you could tune in. We have a lot to talk about, including spring severe weather, major couple of days coming up, maybe even 3 days when all is said and done, and an important paper just issued from Colorado State University. And Dr. Phil Klotzbach there, the author of that paper, we'll take a look at that, plus the usual INSO, sea surface temperatures, that kind of thing. Not much change there, kind of in the status quo. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's just get on with it, shall we? I think we shall. All right, first, a look at the anomalies. A little bit of an increase here of the surface anomalies, the departures from normal in the eastern equatorial Pacific, but the central Pacific over here still remaining colder than average. The Atlantic Basin, a little bit cooler out here in the eastern part of the main development region. But I'm telling you, this western part of the basin still quite a bit warmer than the long-term average there. The Gulf of Mexico running higher than normal. And again, you get these big high-pressure areas off the east coast. The return flow around those highs. These fronts coming in, energy coming in. You get the clash zones through here. That warm, unstable air coming off the Gulf. And you have the recipe for what's coming up later today, which again we're going to discuss here in just a moment. Now this is interesting. This is an animation of the subsurface version of this, mainly right through this area, right through here. If you took a slice roughly through here and looked at it in the vertical, this is what it would look like. And you notice right now, the most recent image, March 14th, we go back to January, there was a lot of subsurface warmth, but that has eroded and has been replaced, as you can easily see there. Look at that. Early on in the year, it's like, whoa, El Nino's coming, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. And the reason that we have had this change is because we've had a pretty good, strong bout of easterlies pushing across the top here, helping to upwell colder water, stronger than normal easterly flow across the equatorial Pacific here. So lower pressure in the far western Pacific, higher pressure in the east. Again, that net flow of air much stronger from east to west, and therefore you've got this change here, and I like it that it finally froze on the last frame for us. Pretty strong negative anomalies starting to show up. There's those positive anomalies in the eastern Pacific. This area, the Nino 1-2 area as we call it, very susceptible to rapid changes. I think that this will eventually, I mean, look, there's some cold water trying to upwell already. And that's right off of the west coast of South America and vicinity. And the La Nina will hold on. You know, how strong it'll get and whatnot, it remains to be seen. But it's going to hold on through the rest of the year, it looks like. Here's the latest CFS V2. And this may be overdoing it, but you see it was predicting a pretty good dip here. This is where we are now. And we're going back down again, you know, towards stronger or a more intense La Nina pattern, and then kind of holding that through the heart of the hurricane season. And this would be your peak time of the Atlantic hurricane season right through here. So the La Nina would be firmly in place, and then we start to gradually warm up those INSO regions, maybe, by the end of the year into early 2023. So not much change. Things are pretty much still status quo regarding that particular aspect and set of aspects, plural, for the upcoming hurricane season. Now in the Gulf, these are anomalies here, departures from average. These are your actual temperatures. And as we can see, I love showing this one, mainly because I like watching the water temperatures warm up, because I'm a beach guy. I love going to the beach, especially with the kids and family. And, you know, it's just better having a warm water, in my opinion, anyway. So 26 Celsius and higher right around through here. I'm just kind of drawing it in for you, gradually warming everything up. This will start happening more rapid as the sun angle increases, and we'll have everything nice and warm by the start of the hurricane season there in June. And just remember one really important thing. The Gulf of Mexico is always going to be warm enough for intense hurricanes. It's kind of its own area. It's not really affected by the state of the INSO or the El Nino Southern Oscillation phenomenon. It doesn't really have much to do with changes in Atlantic sea surface temperatures. It's always going to be warm enough. Your shelf waters are going to be in the upper 80s. The deep Gulf area, the loop current and vicinity, plenty of upper ocean heat content. I like to look at this and see how fast it's warming up, especially relative to average, for the potential of two things. Early season development. Maybe we get something developing in May. The last week or two of May, something could try to pop. We've seen that the last several years. So if the waters are warmer earlier, then yes, you might get some earlier season development. Usually those are kind of large, spread out, more anemic type systems. And then the other aspect, of course, is severe weather, which I've already talked about. That warmer water gives you more water vapor, more energy, the warm, unstable air mass advecting or moving horizontally into the lower 48, the Gulf Coast states, into the plains, and you can get some nasty, severe outbreaks, which is what we're going to have today and tomorrow. And we'll get to that in just a moment. Off the East Coast and Mid-Atlantic, pretty neat-looking set of currents here, kind of wrapping up. You can see the gradient as these different currents mix and match. Sometimes they don't match, but they definitely mix out there. There's the 26 Celsius isotherm in the heart of the Gulf Stream. So if you went off of Jacksonville or came out of Tybee or Charleston, or if you really want to come down from Cape Fear and go that far, jump in out there. It's about 80 degrees. All right, we're getting there. But if you're spring breaking off of anywhere along the Mid-Atlantic to the southeast down to even the east coast of Florida for a good bit, water temperature is still a little bit chilly because it's only March, right? It's not June yet, but we're getting there. Water temperature is gradually on the increase. All right, so I love this map, especially during hurricane season. We'll show it more and more, but just a quick look at it right now. Not much in the way of concentrated energy or vorticity in the tropics. Why? Well, it's all still up in the higher latitudes here. As you can see, these different storm systems all up at these higher latitudes. This energy here is going to be slipping into this area over here in eastern Texas, and that vorticity spin in the atmosphere is going to concentrate. We're going to get supercells, and then a large line of storms, hail, and tornadoes, a big problem, flooding rain. It's part of the spring pattern, and again, that warm Gulf of Mexico playing a role in that with that warm air advection coming in there, transporting that very unstable air mass into this energy that's dropping out of the Rockies. And you're going to have even some snow here in parts of the Front Range, not as much as it looked like a few days ago, but a pretty potent storm system nevertheless. So looking at it on satellite perspective, I mean, look, there you go. That's textbook. You can see the moisture streaming out of the Gulf. And again, let's just go back to reiterate the point one more time over on the anomalies map. A good chunk of the Gulf of Mexico there, that's where the flow is coming right out of the south, and these water temperatures are slightly warmer than average. And even just a little bit of an increase in the sea surface temperatures gives you more energy. It really does matter. So lots of energy flowing in here from the Gulf as high pressure sets up in the eastern part of the country. Again, that return flow around the backside. There's your upper level energy coming in the front through here. That is the setup for a nasty severe weather outbreak today and tomorrow, and maybe even in the east here later in the week. All right, now let me just start off with something. I know this is all over social media. It's not like, oh, Mark's aware of the severe weather and nobody else is. The main thing here that I can add to this, because it really is covered very well if you know who to follow. So that's my point. Get your heads out of your you-know-whats. Stop doom scrolling about everything else in the world. And, some of it's doom scrolling. That's what they call it. That's a weird term. Or just anything else that's distracting you. If you live in these areas, you know people in these areas, pay attention. That's the main thing. Pay attention. There are so many distractors coming at you from everything else going on our lovely little planet here that this kind of stuff, you need to pay attention. You seriously do. So let people know, your uncle, your aunt, your mom, your dad, your friends, your long lost nephews and cousins, whoever, old work friends of yours, people on Facebook. I don't care. Let them know. That's the point. You've got a powerful tool here that can be used for a lot of good if you know how to use it. Social media, our connected phones, our tablets, whatever the case may be. I don't care if your iPhone, your Android, you're using an old Walter White flip phone. A little Breaking Bad reference there. If you know the series, you know what I'm talking about. Text these people. Let them know. All right, that's the main thing I can offer you here. Now, let's get to the details of what's going on. Well, there's a moderate risk, that's pretty significant. And this is in the hill country area of Texas, roughly. And you can see some of the areas affected from Austin, big developing area. Tesla, Rogan lives there, controversial as he may be. Still, he lives there. Call up Joe Rogan, let him know, hey, Joe, look out, man. Seriously. This is a significant corridor, the I-35 corridor going through there. College Station, there's a college there, right? And through Temple, Waco, in that vicinity, all close to this, the enhanced area, down towards Houston, that's 4 to 5 million people. You got the flood risk. Well, let's look at the different risks. First, tornado. This is pretty significant. That one red area, 15% chance of a significant tornado. All right, so that's College Station. Bryan, Palestine. All right, so, or is it Palestine? I should get that right. The tornado threat is a big deal, and there's going to be quite a few chasers out there. Hopefully everybody behaves and is really careful and can help report on what's going on safely. This is significant. All right, this is very important. So let people know in that area if you haven't already. Pause this video and let them know why you're thinking about it. Seriously, I'll be here when you get back. You can pause and send a text to somebody. The wind threat, straight line wind, downburst winds, very, very important there in that pink area. 60% chance, and then even a little black outlined area, significant chance of straight line winds. This is a nasty setup. Pretty large hail in that area as well. So the bottom line, inside that original categorical area, pretty much the yellow area, and then drilling down from there, bad severe weather potential today. Tomorrow, that spreads east into the Mississippi Valley region, the northern Gulf Coast, just inland from the actual coastal regions here. The water temperatures warmer than they should be, but still cool enough that you get a more stabilizing effect right along the Gulf Coast per se. Still get some thunderstorms, but inland where you get more heating of the day, more instability, more lift in the atmosphere, all kinds of spinning going on and dynamics in play, that tomorrow that shifts east into a more wooded area. All right. So it's, like jungle chasing, if people are chasing or whatever, it's like, that's different. Even in Texas today, it's not quite the same as west central Texas, parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, where it's just wide open. But tomorrow it shifts into an area where it's much harder to see. But overnight from tonight into tomorrow, it's not like it dies down. It will a little bit, but it doesn't go away. And we have a flat line, then it comes up again. The overnight hours, tonight into tomorrow, is going to be problematic as well as we transition to tomorrow's event. So you got a lot of people down there that need to be aware of this. And please, for the love of Pete, no complaining about people, news stations breaking in. I don't have television. I watch streaming, whatever. I have no cable TV. So that doesn't affect me like it affects people that are watching live TV. But when these meteorologists break in, it may aggravate the living tar out of you, but come on. The FTC requires it. That's the Federal Trade Commission, if I'm not mistaken. And the FCC, I guess, too, the Federal Communications Commission. And maybe I had it backwards, but the bottom line is they have to do it. And so let them do their job, all right? And pay attention and be ready, because lives are going to be changed from this. Seriously, this is like a big hurricane coming. We would be wanting to pay attention. And that's the goal here is awareness. All right, there's not much I can add on, well, I know exactly where the tornadoes are going to form. No, I don't. Nobody does. So let's get everybody aware and use your radar scope or your free apps, whatever you're using, communicate with each other and be ready for it. The tornado threat tomorrow, that's significant as well. Good grief. Good chunk of Louisiana and Mississippi. Again, with the high wind threat, straight line winds, the hail threat, significant as well. And then we're going to have problems with flooding rain on top of this. A lot of heavy rain. Some of these areas need it, but you're going to have flash flooding. The interstates, you think about the I-20, I-10, those are your east-west corridors, your north-south interstates that run through there. truckers, let them all know. Communicate, communicate, communicate. You got to let people know. Seriously. Please do that. All right? The GFS, just kind of going through the next week or so. This is the initial setup here. Let's use a colored little pop, shall we? There's the low pressure, the surface low in New Mexico. Our good friend Eric Webb out here reporting that there was some snow up at the elevation where he was. I think it was like, what did he say, like 3,000 to 5,000 feet, something like that. So there is some cold air, some energy here, and in the warm sector over here, that's where the severe weather is going to come into play. There's your high. Over here, it's not marked with the center of it, but there it is roughly. In the Carolinas, the return flow, exactly what I was telling you, and then it's intersecting this powerful storm system coming in, and this is going to be your clash zone today. This is going to be the area tomorrow, and then all of that starts to march east over the rest of the week. So let's look at that frame by frame throughout the day today. The storm system moves on. All that orange and red you see in there is accumulated rainfall over time, and it's in millimeters per hour, the rain rate, if you will, not the accumulation, sorry, but that's heavy rain. That's what you need to know. So there's going to be some flooding there, and then this all moves east over time into the southeast, and then you have the slight risk coming up later in the week as this advances eastward. This is Thursday afternoon. Yuck. For the eastern parts of the southeast, like the easternmost part of the southeast United States is what I'm trying to say. I-95 and points east, and then that energy finally gets out of there. But a very active week coming up. And then it starts to calm down by the weekend. A little bit of a colder pattern, some more colder air draining in here over the east with that trough digging in, ridging out west. No precip to be found for the time being, but just to kind of advance out into time a little bit, some hints that maybe another storm system comes in at about a week's time frame. Not bad. You need it. Look at that. That would be nice if that actually happens, but that sets the stage for more severe weather possibly coming up well beyond the traditional time frame that's reliable in terms of forecasting. All right? So pay attention to this. That's day 2. That's day 3. Again, the southeastern part of the country. Some of this may go to enhanced mode later on. We will wait and see about that. All right? All right. So this important paper. This is Dr. Phil Klotzbach. He's the lead author on the seasonal forecasting, a student of the late Dr. Bill Gray, of course, learning pretty much everything from him and his project over there at Colorado State University forecasting seasonal hurricane activity. And he's published a new paper here. It's accepted, as he says. And that's actually been published in the GRL. Now, I don't know what that is. It doesn't get spelled out what the GRL is, but assuming it's some kind of a important aggregate of scientific data. We'll just call it that. Well, let's see if it shows up here, what the GRL is. I want to know. So this is the advanced... So there it is, GRL, Geophysical Research Letters. All right. My question was answered. So what I want to show you, instead of digging deep into the paper, what are the highlights? So first he says he's very excited to report that the paper is accepted into the GRL. And then what are the different parameters here, the highlights? One of the things, let me just scroll down here. So the main findings are, let's look at this tweet. Global hurricane strength, tropical cyclone counts, and accumulated cyclone energy, so the amounts of occurrences, and the ACE index have significantly, that's important, trended downward since 1990. Why? Likely due to a trend towards La Nina. Aha! There's where everything's connected. That suppresses Pacific typhoon activity. So this is really, really important. The background state of the planet, and he does go on to talk about it further, and I'm going to put a link to the paper in the description of today's video, and your job is to read it, all right? I'm just going to give you a couple bullet points here. What I find very important about this, there's going to be a lot of people that say, see, we told you. Climate change is not going to make more hurricanes. Well, that may be true, but what it is apparently, in some of the early findings here, is setting the stage for is a more active Western African monsoon, which generates the background state that helps part of that background state that leads to almost a semi-permanent La Nina. In other words, it's harder and harder to get an El Nino. The last El Nino was 2015. We are heckin' gone from 2015, folks, if you hadn't noticed. And we haven't had an El Nino. In fact, they keep getting thwarted, and we're in this La Nina state. And he goes on to say, let's find this. I want to show it to you, so it's not my words, it's his words here. The increase in rapidly intensifying hurricanes, and that's right here, or tropical cyclones overall, this is huge as well. So while there's been a decrease in the overall amount of activity, and the ACE count, the accumulated cyclone energy, has dropped, and he said significantly, the increases in high-end rapid tropical cyclone intensification events has increased, likely due to increases in potential energy intensity, and what he says, for example, a more favorable thermodynamic environment, and they may be due to climate change-induced warming. It's early. We're going to need time, maybe a couple of decades more, to sort this out, maybe longer than that. But these are the early indications that, all right, we're starting to see some of the ramifications. We know that the climate is warming. That is not in dispute at all. The records are there, and people that say otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. It's like being a frog in the pot, and the pot's boiling. You go, it's not boiling. I'm going to be fine. Give me a break. The reasons why, yes, are debatable. Perhaps. That's not what I'm here for. We know the results, though. That's what I see. That's what we study here. That's what this logo is all about. We take these cameras, we put them out, we see the results of what is happening. Ida, Harvey, Michael, Irma headed in towards the Caribbean there in 2017. Maria did the same thing. Dorian off the Bahamas, and even Matthew in 2016. These rapidly intensifying Ada down in the Caribbean, and Iota in 2020. Zeta coming in, rapidly intensifying storms right before landfall. That's a big problem. Where are all of those ones that I just mentioned happening? Close to the United States, close to Central America, close to the Caribbean. Not in the West Pac. None of the names that I mentioned are in the Western Pacific. We are losing the Western Pacific sort of firepower of tropical cyclones and shifting it more towards the Atlantic Basin with more intense, rapid fire, close in, 2 to 3 days notice. That's bad. That's really bad. So these long track hurricanes coming out of the MDR, the main development region, more rare. These Idas, Harveys, Michaels, like I said, wow, that's a real problem. So interesting paper. I will link to it in the description. Read it yourself. And comment in the YouTube comments and over on Patreon, our Discord. That's what it's there for. Just keep it civil. No kookiness. This is factual, good stuff from somebody that's done this a long, long time with Dr. Klotzbach here. All right? So we are on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, especially if it's your first time, welcome. Good to have you. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Select the notifications. Turn them all on. You want to hear from me in the future. You have to. Come on. Especially when we stream live out there. You're going to want to know when that is happening. And, of course, we are supported through Patreon. You can get the Patreon app or go to patreon.com and just search HurricaneTrack. And you can also just aim your phone at the barcode there, the QR code, not the barcode. Come on, Mark. And it'll probably just pop up in your browser, right? But that's how we do it. That's how we're funded. We got a bunch of great people there. We have the Discord running now, which is fantastic. That'll be very active today, tomorrow, and probably beyond through this severe weather week coming up. And you can email me anytime at hermark@gmail.com. So there's our social media pitch for you, how to find us, me, us, the team, all of us. It's a good team of people that help out here, actually. That's where we all are. That's what we all do here. CJ helping out with the Facebook and keeping up with all the severe weather stuff. Kari and Tim helping with the graphics. Cornelius with the background video. Man, it's just a wonderful, wonderful team. All right, I'm done. Enough of the accolades for everybody. Let's publish this sucker so you guys can see what I was talking about. Have a great rest of your Monday and a great rest of your week ahead. I'll probably pop in later in the week just to give you an update on what happened and what the severe weather risk looks like later on. And just another one, just later in the week. Why not? We're getting a little closer to the hurricane season, so we might do one maybe Thursday morning or something just to see what's up. 2 this week. All right. All right. Have a good rest of your day. I'm Mark Sutta. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you again later in the week.